One rainy night, in the village of Kanda, located in the present-day Chiyoda ward of Tokyo, a man saw what seemed to be a boy of 5 or 6 years old, walking along the path in front of him. Surprised by his bravery, the man came up to him and asked where he was going on such a glum night. As the boy turned around, the man saw that it wasn't a boy at all, as it had eyes the color of blood, green scaly skin, and a mouth that seemed to stretch from ear to ear. The creature leaped away into the shadowy bushes and disappeared from sight. The man was shaken by the event, for he understood what he saw. A Kappa. The river-dwelling Kappa, also known by over 80 other names depending on the region, including Kawako, river child, or Kawataro, river boy, is one of Japan's most well-known yokai. It is a type of suijin, a subcategory of water deities residing in lakes, rivers, ponds, or seas. Though influenced by ancient Chinese legends, the mythos of the Kappa was largely developed in Japan. Possibly the earliest written record of the creature is featured in the nation's second oldest written compilation of historical tales, Nihon Shoki, Chronicles of Japan, assembled around the year 720 ACE. Here, there is mention of a Kawa no Kami, or a river deity, making the connection to the yokai possible but also unconfirmable due to the vagueness of its description. The creature first began to be described and depicted in detail with defined characteristics during the early years of the Edo period in the 1600s. The earliest confirmed depiction of a Kappa can be found in Wakan Sansai Zue, or Illustrated Sino-Japanese Encyclopedia, published by Dr. Terajima Ryoan in 1712. The compendium consisted of descriptions of daily activities, tools used by people, and animals found in nature. It also featured an illustration of a hairy, humanoid character with webbed hands and feet, named Kawataro. At around the same time, another Kappa was featured in a picture scroll called Bakemono no E, which depicted 35 yokai found in folklore, with the names of the creatures as the only writing on the paper, meaning there was no descriptions concerning any of the shown yokai. As the 18th century progressed, physical characteristics began to be more concretely set, such as their small stature, roughly the size of a human child, as their name would suggest. They also either had scaly or slimy skin, greenish complexion, a turtle-like shell on their back, a beak instead of a mouth, and a distinct head of hair, with the top of their head seemingly bald. One interesting hypothesis for the origin point for their unusual appearance is that it was inspired by the presence of Portuguese monks in Japan at the time, with their hairstyle bearing a striking resemblance to the monks' practice of tonsure, or shaving of their scalp. In addition, the monks' large hoods resting on the backs of their cloaks could be reinterpreted as a turtle shell. Curiously, the Portuguese word for cloak is kappa. Modern-day depictions of the kappa typically show it as possessing a monk-like shaven head, with a rim of hair surrounding the bald spot, though in classical illustrations of the creature from hundreds of years ago, the top of their head is not merely just bare of hair, but is in fact a dish-like depression in their head, which would contain water whenever they were roaming outside of the river. Another possible origin point for the kappa is that the legend arose from sightings of the now extinct Japanese river otter, which may appear to be humanoid if standing upright and witnessed from a distance after sunset. Others supposed that the story had a connection with leech babies, the term given to newborn babies of impoverished families which had no means of supporting a child and would so throw them into the river. Some think the story of the kappa was told to children by parents who did not want them coming close to the river and by chance witnessing the sight of baby corpses floating on the river. Others think that the kappa are actually the leech babies that survived and evolved to live in the rivers. Renowned Japanese folklore scholar Yanagita Kunio proposed yet another theory. After examining the various alternative names for the creature used in other parts of the country, he found that some called the river imp enko, an alternative word for monkey, proposing that they were originally inspired by monkeys. Some say that the monkey connection originated in Buddhist mythology coming from India and Sri Lanka, as the ancient Sanskrit word for monkey is kapi. The behavior of the kappa has always been described as conflictingly both strongly malevolent and also benevolent towards humans. The yokai infamously has perverted tendencies, often caught walking on land trying to look up women's kimonos, hiding in lavatories to get a peek at or to pick at a woman's private parts, or more extremely, pulling women underwater to rape them. Yanagita also wrote that a woman from a certain household near a river in Matsuzaki village, who had been raped by Kappa, allegedly gave birth to a hideous Kappa baby, which was promptly hacked into pieces and buried. Occasionally human Kappa births within the family continued for a couple of generations. One of the creature's favorite meals is raw human flesh, and would kidnap and kill people who may wander close to the river or swim in the river itself. On top of this, Kappa have a noted obsession for the anus, which they would specifically target in order to retrieve a mythical ball called Shirikodama, or little butt ball, residing somewhere within the anus. The exact details about Shirikodama are not known, but some believe that it was the solidified form of the soul of a person, or perhaps the ball was actually the liver, which could be extracted via the anus. Edo period depictions show how humans used this knowledge to their advantage to kill and or capture Kappa. Artist and printmaker Hokusai once depicted a hunter sitting on a swing on the riverbank, with his bare butt cheeks exposed to a Kappa, tempting it to come out of the water to catch or kill it. Another picture shows a bare-butted man showing his rear to a Kappa, hoping it would run into a swinging pendulum-like device with a knife attached. The legend surrounding the Kappa's hunger for the mystical butt ball may have originated from the appearance of dead bodies of drowning victims, which would, after a long period of drifting in the water, would deform, and as they washed ashore, people who found them would see that their anal cavities had seemed to enlarge, as if something had been taken out from there. Another food that they are immensely fond of is cucumbers. More religious Japanese people have been known to engrave their family names onto a cucumber and throw it into the river, believing it would protect their kin from Kappa attack. Depending on the community, some thought that eating cucumbers would prevent them from being attacked while going for a swim in the river, while others thought it would guarantee a submersive abduction by Kappa. Their likeness for cucumbers is so well known that the name of the sushi roll filled with cucumbers is called kappamaki. Kappas are also known to be incredibly strong, despite their small stature, and very agile swimmers, and are still used as a kind of boogeyman by parents and local councils to warn children about swimming in treacherous waters. Outside of their violent characteristics, Kappa are also quite cultured and spend a lot of their free time partaking in human activities, such as playing the Japanese board game shogi, or building their muscles through sumo wrestling. They are stubborn and very polite, a trait that can be used against them. If they are on dry land, they need to keep the dish on the top of their head filled with water and must carefully balance it while traveling, for if they lose the water, they will lose their power. If the person a Kappa is chasing after were to turn to it and bow deeply, the Kappa, in order to be polite, would return the bow, which would result in it inadvertently spilling all the water on top of its head. The creature would then either lose all of its strength or become paralyzed and freeze in place. The yokai also likes to challenge humans to a sumo bout because they feel they would surely win. However, before a match begins, both wrestlers have to bow to each other, which would result in it spilling all of its water. In both cases, it will accept defeat, and in return would obediently serve the human who outsmarted it if they refilled the dish on top of their head with water from the river, possibly helping them with soil irrigation or even giving them fish, a symbol of prosperity. Another weakness of the Kappa is the belief that their two arms are connected to each other under their shell and not to the rest of their body. If a person were to pull on one arm, it would appear to grow longer as the other one got shorter. In this way, one could pull out the monster's connected arms, which would render them relatively harmless and feeling ashamed. Like in the aforementioned scenario, it would forever serve the person who returned it its arms. If met with this situation, people should not doubt the Kappa's honesty, for they are always true to their word. Apparently, communities who lived near the Chikugo River in the Fukuoka and Saga prefectures believed that Kappa were most plentiful in this river. Since they were known to be mischievous and violent at times, the people treated them kindly, for they depended on the Kappas to protect them from rising river waters after heavy rain. In return, they would leave out offerings of cucumbers for them by the river. Another story that shows the duality of the Kappa's character is one concerning samurai and doctor Takatori Unsho-an and his wife some 300 years ago. While his wife was using the toilet, she felt something reach out from underneath her and touch her buttock. She called it a rascal, which sent the monster running back to the river. The next night, it happened again, but she was now equipped with a short sword and swiftly cut off its hand, and the creature went running while shrieking in pain. She showed it to her husband, who saw that it possessed inhuman webbing between its fingers and more resembled the claw of a giant snapping turtle. On later nights, they heard its voice, pleading for them to give back its hand. After 3 nights, Takatori asked why it needed its severed hand back. The Kappa appeared at their front door, lightly bowing. It said that even though it would be futile to try and reattach a human limb, a severed Kappa hand could still be reattached and made usable again. If it was given its hand back, it promised to show the samurai how to set broken bones. Unsho-an gave it back its hand and observed how it managed to put it back onto its body. In return, the Kappa showed the doctor samurai how to properly set human bones. Grateful for the samurai's generosity, the next morning, the creature presented them with 2 large fish. Takatori's family became well known for their bone-setting secrets that were passed down through generations. In a story written by Greek-Irish writer Lafcadio Hearn, first seen in his collection of folk tales called Kidan, Weird Tales from Japan, a Kappa, or Kawako as it was called in the region, that resided in the small town of Kawachimura, regularly seized and killed inhabitants of the town or their animals. However, one time, while a horse had wandered into the river to drink from it, the Kawako tried to capture it, but it got tangled in the horse's belly band, and the terrified horse ran back to the town, taking the yokai with it. The townsfolk bound the creature and hungered to kill it, but the head of the town, who was also the owner of the horse, thought it better to make it swear to never again touch another person or animal of Kawachimura. A written form of an oath was prepared for it, and the Kawako signed it by dipping its hand in ink and leaving its mark on the bottom of the paper. It was then set free to return to the river, and never more caused trouble to the town. There is said to be a shrine in the town named Kawako no Miya, which purportedly contains within it the documents signed by the yokai. There are many more accounts which seemingly depict the Kappa as a tangible creature grounded in reality, be it written accounts of sightings or illustrations of found bodies. A compilation describing 12 different types of Kappa was created in the later years of the Edo period, based on illustrations and descriptions of various creatures found dead or alive in Japan. The Kappas varied in size, shape, color, whether they were bipedal or quadrupedal, whether they had a shell or not, and at least one had the distinction of possessing 3 anuses. Sogenji Temple in the Ueno Asakusa area in Tokyo holds a strong connection to the Kappa, earning the nickname Kappa Dera, or Kappa Temple. According to its legend, the area used to be prone to flooding due to poor drainage. A local raincoat maker decided to build a series of drainage ditches with his own funds to help alleviate the problem, allegedly with the help of a Kappa who lived in the nearby Sumida River. The flooding was thusly stopped, and the raincoat maker was later buried on the temple grounds. Statues of Kappas can be seen standing around the temple, and instead of the typical donations of 5 or 50 yen coins, like in most other temples, Kappa Dera frequently accepts offerings of cucumbers. Within the inner confines of the building, there lies a display case which purportedly contains a hand belonging to a Kappa, and is in fact one of many such establishments across Japan that claim to hold a physical relic of the yokai world. Modern-day depictions of the Kappa are generally in a more positive light, depicting it as a cute monster, such as in the 2007 animated film Summer Days with Ku, or the popular yokai-focused anime Gegege no Kitaro. Aside from entertainment, the Kappa is an often featured character or mascot in advertising due to its infamy across Japan, almost always depicted without its original malicious nature. Some have theorized that its violent personality faded as negative incidents around rivers, such as washed-up corpses or floating babies, also decreased. Another example of its power as a mascot can be found in the town of Fukusaki in Hyogo Prefecture, the hometown of folklorist Yanagita Kunio. In his writing, he described a Kappa called Gataro that lived in the area. Inspired by his descriptions, the government of the town designed both Gataro and his brother, Gajiro, as statues placed in the town's Tsujikawayama Park. They also built a mechanical Gajiro in the park's pond that would periodically jump out to scare any person standing on the bridge in front of it. A costume for Gajiro was also designed and is worn by an individual designated to represent it in public appearances, and a series of YouTube videos showing how it lives everyday life, advertising the town's available amenities. It has also become the official mascot for Fukisaki Town.
Dear Gajiro, it's been a while. How are you doing? Recently, I started Twitter. I connected with so many people, but when I posted Shiriko Dama, I got so many scolding tweets. Now I know this is on fire. Oh my god! Well, I'll send you your favorite food, cucumber, growing in the neighborhood. The water temperature in pond is going to drop, so please take care of yourself. Sincerely, Mom.
As it stands, the yokai can serve as a symbol of Japanese culture in its love for sumo and shogi, and the importance it places on politeness and keeping promises. It also can serve as a cautionary tale that no matter how pleasant one can seem, there's always a possibility of something menacing in the waters down below.